this video, we're going to talk about the top 10 strongest economies in Africa 2021. Before starting this video, like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel for future updates. The 10 strongest economies in Africa 2021 and their characteristics of their economies are discussed here. Number 10. Tanzania, GDP 62,224 billion. Tanzania, with a GDP of $62,224 billion in the previous year, rounds out the top 10 richest African countries. The country has the lower middle mixed income economy and is home to some of the continent's most famous national parks, including Kilimanjaro. Agriculture is the backbone of the country's economy, accounting for about 25% of GDP and employing half of the workforce. Mining, manufacturing, construction, electricity, natural gas and water supply are among the fastest growing sectors of the economy, accounting for about 30% of GDP. Gold, coffee, cashew nuts and cotton are the principal exports. Number 9. Ghana, GDP 67,077 billion. Ghana is a West African country with a diverse economy and abundant natural resources. With a GDP of $67,077 billion, it ranks 9th among the wealthiest countries on the African continent. It was the first country in sub-Saharan Africa to attain independence from colonial authority, as well as the first to achieve the goal of cutting down extreme poverty by half. Number 8. Ethiopia, GDP 91,166 billion. Ethiopia, a landlocked country split by the Great Rift Valley in the Horn of Africa, is Africa's 8th richest country. This historic land is famous for being the birthplace of the coffee bean, with archaeological artifacts dating back over 3 million years. The country produces the most coffee and honey in Africa, and these products account for a significant percentage of the country's foreign exchange. Legumes, oily seeds, and cut flowers are among the other products sent. Agriculture, construction, manufacturing, tourism, food processing, resources, and energy account for 91,166 billion in GDP. Agriculture is the region's most potential resource, accounting for more than 40% of GDP, 60% of exports, and over 80% of total employment. Number 7. Angola, GDP 91,527 billion. Angola is home to one of the continent's largest stocks of raw minerals. In essence, it might be higher on this ranking of Africa's wealthiest countries. However, the country's economy has suffered as a result of resource mismanagement and internal corruption. It is ranked 7th on this list with a GDP of more than 90 billion. Angola's economy is based on oil, with natural gas and oil reserves accounting for more than a third of the country's GDP. Crude oil production and exports contribute significantly to foreign exchange earnings. In fact, crude oil sales account for 90% of the country's export revenue. Diamonds and cargo ships are two more notable exports. Agriculture is also predicted to become a significant economic sector in the future. Angola's civil war concluded in 2002. Since then, positive efforts have been achieved in the direction of economic growth and stability. Along with the IMF and the World Bank, work on political and structural changes has been done. Since then, the country has had one of the world's fastest growing economies and has risen to become one of Africa's wealthiest nations. Number 6. Kenya, GDP 99,246 billion. Kenya, an East African country noted for its wide landscapes and animals, is the next richest country in Africa with a GDP of about 100 billion. This country is the wealthiest in Southeast and Central Africa, with stable living conditions, a well-established coffee and tea industry, and a fast increasing agricultural sector. For centuries, its coastline has been home to a number of vital ports for Asian and Arabian traders, transforming it into a regional trading powerhouse. Kenya's economy is not based on oil like many of the other countries on this list, but it continues to expand in a variety of ways. Number 5. Morocco, GDP 119,000.04 billion. Morocco ranks 5th on this list of Africa's wealthiest countries with a GDP of almost 120 billion. This North African country's economy is diverse and steady, with growth in a variety of areas during the last decade. It is Africa's second richest non-oil producing nation. Mining and manufacturing are the mainstays of the country's economy. Industry accounts for 30% of Morocco's GDP. Agriculture accounts for 15% and services account for 55%. This is bolstered by a burgeoning tourism industry, with residents embracing guests and the government putting a significant emphasis on recruiting visitors to the country's well-known sites. Morocco is the world's third greatest producer of phosphorus, relying primarily on agriculture. The country has reaped significant benefits from its diverse exports, which include electrical equipment, autos and vehicle parts, among other things. In addition, the telecom and textile industries contribute significantly to the economy. Morocco, on the other hand, has had its economic growth stifled by internal issues, with a real GDP growth of only 2.7% in 2019, falling short of the World Bank's forecast of 2.9%. Number 4. Algeria, GDP 172.781 billion. Algeria, the continent's largest country in the north, is ranked 4th on this list of Africa's wealthiest countries. With a large economy and infrastructure, as well as a GDP of over 170 billion, the country has made great progress in reducing poverty by 20% in the last 20 years. Number 3. Egypt, GDP 302.256 billion. For many years, this ancient area in northern Africa held the title of Africa's richest country. The economy, on the other hand, was seriously harmed, and foreign exchange reserves plummeted as a result of the Arab uprising in 2011. Egypt is presently the third richest country on the planet, with a recent GDP of over 300 billion. Over the recent decade, economic activity has increased and stabilized, resulting in good economic growth. The government and the IMF recently completed an economic reform package aimed at improving and strengthening the economy. In 2019, real GDP growth increased to 5.6%, up from 5.3% in 2018. Unemployment has decreased, foreign exchange reserves have improved, products and services exports have increased, and the tourism sector has grown, all of which have aided in the country's prosperity. Petroleum and natural gas exports, tourism, wholesale and retail trade, construction, and real estate are the mainstays of the Egyptian economy. In recent years, the state's economy has diversified away from raw material exports, with service-based employment accounting for over half of the GDP. However, Egypt may suffer socio-economic problems as a result of a huge percentage of the population living in poverty, unemployment, a shaky healthcare system, and a worldwide downturn. Number 2. South Africa, GDP 358.839 billion. As Africa's second richest country, this southernmost country is a prominent influence on the continent. The country is regarded as one of the fastest developing in the world, with a highly developed economy, excellent infrastructure, and a GDP of over 350 billion. South Africa, also known as the Rainbow Nation, is one of the few countries on this list that does not rely on a single source of income. Mining, manufacturing, financial services, and tourism are all important industries in the country. Natural resources and raw material exports such as gold, diamonds, platinum, coal, and iron ore are also plentiful. It is one of the world's top exporters of these metals, especially gold and platinum. The country is well known around the world as a major tourist destination, and it places a high value on tourism as a source of revenue. Political and global turbulence, on the other hand, have hampered its capacity to reach its full potential. After witnessing 4 quarters of negative GDP growth, the country was forced into recession and development has slowed, with GDP increasing by only 0.2% in 2019. South Africa also boasts the world's highest rates of inequality. Number 1. Nigeria, the richest country in Africa, with a GDP of 446.543 billion. With a population of over 200 million people, this West African country is an important part of the African economy. Nigeria is Africa's richest country with a GDP of little under $450 billion. Finance, transportation, infrastructure, tourism, and an abundance of crude oil are the key drivers of the large GDP. According to OPEC, the country exports roughly 1.6 million barrels of crude oil per day, making it Africa's largest crude oil exporter. Petroleum exports account for 10% of the country's overall GDP and over 80% of the export sector's earnings. Nigeria has a variety of raw commodities and natural resources in addition to petroleum, which contribute to the region's prosperity. Coal, limestone, zinc, lead, tin, natural gas, niobium, and iron ore are among them. There is also enough fertile area for agriculture, which accounts for approximately 20% of GDP and produces cocoa and rubber. Nigeria's enormous population has helped the country become Africa's largest consumer store, and its digitally savvy citizens have contributed to the country's fast-growing IT sector. Nigeria's GDP expanded at a pace of 7% per year between 2000 and 2014, according to the World Bank, making it one of the fastest-growing economies in Africa. Due to political unrest, socioeconomic issues, and oil and production shocks, this has slowed to 2% in recent years. The government has placed a major emphasis on safeguarding its natural resources, attempting to wean itself off its dependency on oil refineries and processing factories. What do you think about this video? Do let us know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear from us again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go.